Hello, hello, hello. This is Samuel Archer, your host for the Muzilog magazine podcast. And we have a special guest in the building. We would like to welcome Miss Jeanne Ricks, a
Thank
vocalist,
you.
guitarist, a multi instrumentalist extraordinaire. And she took a moment to stop by and tell us all about her life, even the good stuff, but in a musical way. In a musical way. So, how are you today? We're here to talk about your most recent album, and then you have some Christmas music coming up for the holiday season. So,
Yes,
which one you want to
yes.
start with first?
Either or, dealer's choice.
The deal is okay. Well, let's go with Reinvention. It's an eight song project.
EP.
Um, oh yes, it's an EP, and I had a chance to sample some of the music. And so your genre is smooth jazz. So we're happy to have someone like yourself on board. And what was it like putting that project together? Now, is this a COVID record, or this was just something in the works and then COVID happened?
No, it's not a COVID record.
Uh,
No, and I would say smooth jazz, but also R&B. When R&B had such a genesis of being more inclusive at the
mm,
beginning of R&B. You think if you go back and you look at some of the early Earth, Wind, and Fire albums, you'll see that they did instrumentals in there. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Groups would include instrumentals, and it wasn't called smooth jazz. That's a title that marketing people put on it later.
mhm,
I remember
mhm,
there was Quiet Storm, and then it became smooth jazz. But early R&B always included folks like Ramsey Lewis, and
mm, mm,
you've got Donald Byrd and the Blackbirds, and all that
mhm,
70s stuff was inclusive, and then they moved that kind of stuff outside, and that's kind of a shame.
mm.
But Reinvention came about because I was finding new ways to get my music out. I'd done music for the Weather Channel that was smooth jazz guitar instrumentals for like over 12 years until NBC
Okay.
bought the station and they stopped using outside music. And I had put out a couple of projects. I was fortunate enough. George Benson did one of my songs, recorded one of my songs, and I'll tell you
Yes,
that
yes,
story later. Yeah, that's an
yes,
incredible
yes.
story. But and so I had that leaning, but I hadn't really set myself out there as an artist in a big way. And I met
Hmm.
Kevin Harewood, who's an incredible um, industry veteran, and he listened to my material and he said, "You know what? Put out an EP. Just reinvent yourself."
Hmm.
Therefore, it
Hmm.
became Reinvention.
Okay, okay. Now, were you an avid listener to CD 101.9 back in the day in New York City?
Yes, back in the day in New York City. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes.
wasn't
Okay.
that long ago. Thank you very much.
We're not trying to. Well, I mean, I will say during the early 90s,
Yep.
WQCD was our go-to in New York for cool jazz at the time. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I did get my fill of a lot of different artists that were and amazing. And obviously, they had concerts at the World Trade Center, and everyone came out there during a certain time of the summertime, and they had some shows out there. So I have a feeling you were part of that whole thing.
And the
Yeah, but
cruises, kind of a
ah,
nice thing too. You're out on the
yes,
water,
yes, yes,
on the
yes, yes.
Hudson.
Uh
Really
huh.
kind of
Uh
nice
huh.
stuff. Like a nice
Yeah,
environment to
yeah.
do music. You got the
Mhm, mhm.
skyline behind you. People are sipping their little sips, and you got the music flowing. And the crowd, the vibe is just so warm, and you're in an enclosed space, so nobody can go anywhere anyway. Uh,
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was a wonderful thing. They still do some smooth jazz
Hmm.
cruises. They're bigger ones though now on the the large liners. It's a real deal,
Okay.
not just
Okay.
on the Hudson River.
All right. So a little more on your album. Are you playing everything on there? Are you like Prince, or did you have some additional musicians come in to help you out
The
with the
association
recording?
of Prince. Yeah, I love the association of Prince, but yes, I do play all my own instruments.
All right. All
I
right. All
A couple of my other CDs, I would have guest artists come in, like Walter Beasley has played on my music, Branford Marsalis. I was
right.
fortunate enough to have Miss Lisa Fisher sing background vocals with me on some of my music. So I've had
Mm-hmm.
some incredible, you know, guest artists, but primarily, yes, I record all the instruments myself. I'm fortunate enough to have those skills that
Mm-hmm.
I honed over the years.
Okay. Okay. Well, and are you engineering as well, or did you work with an engineer on this?
Oh yeah, it's a whole.
Or you're the one woman stop shop here.
Well, when I went to Berklee College of Music and I majored in film scoring. And as part of that degree, you are required to study recording engineering. And it's a fantastic, I mean, you need those skills. And these
Hmm.
days, everything's on your computer. You can record literally on your laptop if you've got enough memory and resources. So yeah, I did it all myself.
Okay. Okay. Well, now what has the feedback been thus far? Because I think it's still new because,
Yeah,
you know, but it does say 2022 on there. However, I think it's
yeah,
still relevant because my audience is now getting introduced to it. And I'm
yeah.
sure a lot of people are going to be checking it out.
Well, I put
So
it out in mid 2022, so it is still relevant. It's still not a year old yet. And by the way, I also had a mastering engineer, Paul Arnold. And what the mastering engineer does is he's out of LA, Paul Arnold, 24/7 Productions. What they do with
hmm
mastering is, you've got all these separate recordings, these separate
hmm
MP3s, these songs. And what the mastering does, they come in and they make it sound as if it's one cohesive package, one complete
Oh
package.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
and it's well done. And who's that smooth voice I hear singing all the way through the record as well? I heard a female smooth voice.
That would be me.
Uh,
Um, I love singing. I mean, my family experience was we all sang in choir, so we always had that background. And then it's just a way to release,
mhm,
tension.
mhm, mhm.
That and playing guitar, guitar really saved my life in that it's something I can
Mm,
go to when I don't know what to do. Music holds me together.
mhm, mhm. Amen, amen. So, in reference to guitar, how were you introduced to the guitar?
Mm. My dad, it was so cool because he had all kinds of instruments around the house. There was
Hmm.
bongos, there was a kalimba, there was a violin, a flute, recorder, all these instruments. And he and my mom both played
Mm.
piano. My mother trained as a classical pianist at
Oh.
Roosevelt University. Yeah. And my dad was a jazz pianist, more in that stride style, like a Errol Garner, that kind of thing. So I knew I didn't want to play piano because I would have them over my shoulder the whole time. So that guitar started to look more and more
That's not
interesting.
nice.
Plus, oh, it's true. It's true. All the little comments and critiques. No, 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 no. We're
Uh,
not doing piano. But plus,
oh.
guitar was portable. If you went to summer camp, school, you could take your guitar with you. And yes,
Mm,
guitar was
mm.
great. I mean, I went to this summer camp up in Chicago called Camp Martin Johnson. And man, sitting around the campfire and people would show you things. So you would come up there with one level of skills, but
Mm. I
after
see.
a summer of playing with other people, and the same
Yeah.
thing happened at Berklee. When I went to Berklee, I was still primarily playing just acoustic and classical, of course, because my parents made me get classical training. So I played
Hmm.
classical. I also played flamenco because I wanted to. I was like, oh, what is that? Oh, but man, in high school, the guys had these electric guitars, so I had to get an electric guitar. I'm like, Daddy, can I?
Mm.
And he got me an electric guitar. And when I got to
Oh.
Berkeley, man, the influences were incredible because you had friends who were into guitar players that you had never really listened to. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm,
I
mhm,
primarily
mhm.
listened to funk and the guitar players who were doing like George Benson, Larry Carlton, Eric Gale.
Wow.
Earl Clue. Those were the
Mm.
guitar players I was listening to. But I had friends that were listening to like Jimi Hendrix and BB
Okay.
King, and
Okay.
these are people who I really didn't hone into. So that was a wonderful influence because you would hear
Mm,
stuff coming
mm.
out of their dorm room. You're like, what is that? And you go in and they teach you. I mean, I learned so much just being in that Berkeley environment, not so much the school, but the environment,
Mhm,
you know?
mhm, mhm, mhm. Wow, that's amazing. You got a lot of nice backstories there.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what the Berkeley thing. So tell us a little bit about attending Berkeley.
Well, again, my major was film scoring because my goal was to be
Hmm.
doing major films. Now, I didn't realize what they don't teach you is that it's a boys' network and that it's very hard for a
Oh,
female to get into that industry. So
wow.
the other thing I started really recognizing was songwriting as my
Hmm.
focus. Because my goal was to be Diane Warren. I don't know if you know who she is, but she
I
was
know
a
Diane
songwriter
Warren,
for the
the writer.
Stars. She wrote,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes,
she wrote
yes.
for Whitney, you name it. So many
I'm
artists.
familiar with her. Yeah, I'm familiar with her.
And I
Yeah,
wanted to be the
she
Black
is
Diane
amazing.
Warren. Yeah, I wanted to be the Black Diane Warren,
Okay.
but the industry is so hard to crack into if you don't know somebody or
Hmm.
know somebody that
Hmm.
knows
Hmm.
somebody. It's and the internet has actually only made it worse because there's
Wow.
so much competition. Everybody thinks they can write a song. And there's some good
Well.
songwriters, but there's a
Uh-huh.
lot of noise, and it's hard to stand out from the noise. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. And
Hmm.
I shop my own material because I haven't really found that good publisher that is willing to go in there and do the work for me. So I've always shopped my
Mm.
own songs, and that has been an interesting uh,
A process.
challenge.
So did you join any like in music libraries maybe that submitted material for you to TV
Of
shows and things like that?
course, with all
Hmm.
the hundreds of thousands of other people. I
Obviously,
did.
yeah, you gotta find a space somewhere, right?
Exactly. It's how do you stand out? Now, for instance, when I learned that I knew that it was time for George Benson. He's a renowned jazz guitarist
Hmm.
and vocalist. He did a lot of stuff in the 70s and 80s and had some really big hits. And I just wanted to. He's such a phenomenal player. I mean, just there's no one that quite has his style. You can listen to Wes Montgomery, you can listen to some other guitar players, but George really stands above the fray because he can play both standard bebop jazz and also he can just sail with any
Hmm.
guitar style. So I knew he was about to record, and I was like, oh my God, I've got to get some of my songs to George Benson. Well, I sent music to his record label, his management company, the people who last produced him. I even scoped out the recording studio that he usually records at.
Mm.
Sam, I covered every
You
every
did your
possible.
research.
I got nothing. Crickets, crickets. You understand me?
Oh Lord.
So I gave up. I gave up, and then it was maybe I want to say 4 or 5 months after my assault, and I got a phone call. I'm at my apartment. And I got a phone call, and it was. He says, "Is this Jeanne Ricks?" I'm like, yeah. It was Bob James. He's Bob James, and I'm like, Bob James, Bob James, because he's a phenomenal keyboard player.
Yeah, yeah,
At
yeah,
the
yeah.
time, he was doing A&R artist
Uh-huh.
for WIA. And he said,
Mm.
I have this project that I'm doing for George Benson. They brought me in on this project. And I had been frustrated in finding some material. And the person who had the office that they put me in here at WIA, left a big box of material here that I haven't been able to get the custodian. That's the word he used. We call them janitors. He said, I haven't been able to get the janitor to take this out. And so I just at random went in the box and pulled something out to see if there was anything worthwhile in here. And I found your song. And I really want to know if it's available.
Wow.
So that is how my song got
That's
on
a
the
shot
George
in the dark.
Completely, completely. Oh my God. And then
Wow.
it just so happened that I was living in Chicago at the time. That's my hometown. And I
Yes.
had a trip planned to go to New York within the next couple of weeks. I said, Bob, I'm going to be in town because they wanted to use my computer, my tracks, all of my production stuff. They wanted to use some of the background, not all of it, but some of the background stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, I can bring it with me. And he said, well, if you're going to be here, you can be part of the production team. I was like, so that is how I got my biggest break.
Give me some love on that. Amazing,
right?
amazing.
And how gracious of Bob James. I mean, already a celebrity in his own right. My family, my mother would play his albums, so I knew his work. So how gracious of him to include me as part of the team. A little nobody from, Chicago. That's just unheard
Amazing.
of. So
This is my goodness. This is a crazy story.
Yeah. So I got to meet George and work with him on the song, and I got to sing background vocals. That's where I met Lisa Fisher and Sharon Bryant, both of them big names in the back on their own. We sang, and Omar Hakim played drums. I can't remember who played bass. But yeah, it was an incredible.
Probably Marcus Miller, maybe.
I don't think so, but maybe.
Okay, I don't normally when you hear Omar Hakim and sometimes Bob, you probably have Marcus. But this is amazing. This is like when you throw the basketball and it bounces all over the place and then it just falls right into the net.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is amazing. So what made you make the move from Chicago to New York? What was that thing that pulled you
Music.
into New York?
Music. I had been promised by a couple of publishing people. They said, we can't sign you as a writer until we get more of a catalog base. We would need to have you co-write with some other songwriters who have more of a catalog depth. And if you were here in New York, I kept hearing that. If you were here in New York, we would be able to put you with XYZ, and they would name all these names. Okay, so I put my little monies together and I got myself here in New York. And no sooner did I get here than both of the main individuals who were saying that left their jobs, had gone to other areas of the music industry, weren't even in publishing any longer. And no one wants to work with somebody else's project, right? So
yeah.
I was left adrift. I mean, just floating. And like I said, I found the outlet of being able to write for the Weather Channel, so at least I was able to get some music out there. But it's been very, very hard as a musician here in New York with all these other musicians,
Well, yeah, it comes to the territory, but I believe you're finding a way somewhere in the thread you're threading through. But this is amazing so far. And so you let's segue into your Christmas project. Now it's seasonal, so there's a chance that you probably recorded this sometime before, and
I mentioned the Weather Channel. So every year when the holiday season came around, they would give me a list of accepted royalty-free songs that I could choose from to write arrangements of. And so it was pretty much the same list every year. And so you have to find new ways, both for your own sanity and for the audience to put out the same music and make it interesting and exciting and still fit into the different, because when you're writing for the Weather Channel, you're thinking not just of writing for like a New York audience. It has to be translatable in Nashville, in Los Angeles, in Spokane, Washington, you know what I mean? In Detroit. It has to be universally understood. So I can't write just for, you see what I'm saying?
Understood.
Um,
Understood.
yeah. So
And,
the arrangements had to reflect that.
hmm
And so now that I'm not doing music for them, although they still use my music, it's the most amazing thing. I'll be, watching, and boom, there's one of my songs. I'm like, okay, cha-ching. No, so
She said, "Chichik, no."
you didn't
My
hear that.
audience is gonna love you. They're
So
gonna
I
love you.
said, let me bundle this stuff because it's just sitting here and it's relevant. I mean, it's, it's got a little zing to it. So I said, let me package it and see if people will want to hear it. And so I reached out to yourself, and you said, yeah, let me play it on the
Hey,
air. So
well, and I got to shout out the Urban Influencer, because they're the
yes,
ones who kind of put us to, well, they put us, you came to the Zoom session, and you were able to meet other station folks and
yes.
bloggers and radio programmers and things like that. So we were supposed to do this a while ago. But I'm happy that we're doing it now, and we're going to also introduce some of that music on our Muzilog Music Radio.
There we go. I appreciate the exposure to your audience, and I look forward to
Yes, yes,
also getting some feedback from them on the
yes,
music. I mean, that's the whole thing. Check out
yes, yes.
Reinvention. It's available on Amazon. It's available on my
Mhm.
website. Check out Christmas Expressions. Hopefully, there's something in there that your family you will enjoy, and it gives you that shopping vibe, that package
Mhm.
wrapping vibe. You can listen to it for the whole season.
That's what we're planning to do. We're planning to give the airwaves some love. The
Yeah.
readers are going to get some love, So yeah, we're gonna do that. So and I'm looking at our time. I know we might be getting hungry soon. I might. It's a side joke. Um,
Oh.
it's a tough house tonight. So before we go, I normally ask my guests three things, because we want to humanize our artists a little bit. So some people feel they feel violated after we ask them these questions,
Oh,
but it's I don't think it's that deep. Would you care to take part in the questions, or what?
go ahead. Let's hear this.
She's brave.
Like, what do I get myself into here? Go ahead. Go ahead.
So we want to know, what is your favorite color?
Oh, I have two.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Share the two favorite colors with us.
I love like a bright lemon yellow, but I also love purple.
Ooh, okay, okay.
Like you will find me
Right.
wearing bright yellow gym shoes all the time. I can't,
Okay,
I
okay,
want to
and
shock
purple,
people. Yes,
and
and
purple.
purple
Okay,
clothing. I just love
and
purple.
royalty. All right, all right. For the last couple of interviews, I was just getting blue. A lot of people like blue. So this is good. So we got some yellow and purple. All right. So the next question would be, uh, when Jeanne is in the kitchen, what does Jeanne like to prepare?
Oh, I'm a foodie.
Ah, Lord.
I will
Okay.
tell you that I'm also extremely healthy. So 80% of my diet is just raw vegetables, and I find different ways to have raw veggies because it's just so healthy for the body.
Mm,
But
mm.
I love spicy food. I love Jamaican spices and chicken and in my chicken and food because I occasionally will have meat. I have meat maybe 2 or 3 times a month, but the rest of the time it's just veggies. And you have to find ways to spice up veggies because it does get a little boring. But I love highly spicy food. Yeah,
Okay.
Mexican
All right.
spices, African spices.
Uh, you're all up in the spice. All right. You need to visit the Spice Island, Grenada, right? You need to go to Grenada
Yeah.
and check them
Oh,
out. They may have something special for you down there.
right.
Well, and my final question, we did ask you in the other interview, but
Uh-oh.
we're going to
Third
ask you for
question.
this one.
This one's probably gonna be
And
deep.
that's
What
it.
is it?
Just three. So we want to know maybe two or three people that you're listening to in your playlists at this time?
Let's see. Raphael Sadiq.
Mm,
Yeah. Emily Sunday. I
mm,
like her stuff. Yeah.
okay.
And little Mary J. Blige.
Okay. All right. You said Raphael Sadiq really early. And you're probably happy
Yeah.
they're touring again, huh?
Say again?
I say you're probably happy that they're touring again.
Yes. Yes.
Tony.
Good
Yes. Yeah. Well,
music.
shout out to them and good selections there. Very good selections. And this is good. So, is there anything you'd like to share with the audience that I didn't get to ask you?
Just that I love music, and I hope that you'll love my music too. It really
Okay.
is my heart and soul that goes into it, and it is my honor to be able to hear the music that I hear. I wake up each morning, and I'm usually hearing a song, a new song. Now I know there's only
Mm-hmm.
12 notes in the keyboard. There's no new note, but it's a fresh new song that I usually hear in my head, and it is my honor to be able to do what I do with all the instruments and the computer, and be able to produce it in a way that it can be heard by other people. So music is both my honor and just I hope your audience enjoys it.
Okay. Okay. Well, we were happy to have you on. Thank you so much for taking the time to chop it up with us at Muzilog Magazine. And keep us posted on anything new that you're doing. Feel free to shoot us all your information as to any updates, any performances. We'll be happy to help spread the word for you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Okay.
Sam, for having me. I appreciate you.
Same here. All right. Thank you so much.
All right.